Hello and welcome to the Downsized. My name is Christopher Durham, and this is my wife and I's channel to talk about our GLP-1 adventures, talking about Zepbound and Manjaro, Wegovy, Ozempic, and anything else that comes along. More specifically, this is what we call the Downsized dish. This is our weekly opportunity to talk to people in the community about how their journey has been and find out, the goods, the bads, the ups, the downs, the whole nine yards. I've been trying to broaden the conversation and honestly talk to men because the community tends to be, and we've seen lots of statistics, very female oriented. And I think there's some unique conversations that bring some diversity to the conversation helps. So today I'm excited to welcome Charles from Round Mound of Zepbound. Charles, introduce yourself, man.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me. Yes, my name is Charles. I run the channel Round Mound of Zepbound, and I started my GLP-1 journey using Zepbound, of course, hence the name, on January 12th when I was at 315.1 pounds.
Let's start with the name Round Mound of Zepbound because I think that's an interesting name. So
Yeah.
tell us where that comes from.
Yes, back in the 90s, Charles Barkley was a big famous basketball star at the time. And now he's a TV analyst. But when he played, his nickname was Round Mound of Zepbound. And a lot of people always said that I looked like Charles Barkley. So even so much so that my best friend and I played tricks on his little brother's neighborhood friends. They all came over to the house asking for autographs and whatnot. So
that's awesome.
And coincidentally, both our names is Charles, obviously. And so I just flipped the name to Round Mound of Zepbound from Round Mound of Rebound. And also Charles is a GLP-1 user as well. He uses Manjaro, or had used Manjaro. I heard he went off it for a little bit and was thinking about getting back on it. But
yeah, I've seen him talking about it. I think it's interesting. I know you have an interesting background as an athlete and stuff. Talk to me a little bit about your whole journey personally, and with the medication as well.
Yeah, so I played football through college. I was a D1 defensive end. I actually started at a junior college where I was all-state, all-conference, and honorable mention All-American. I had a few scholarship offers coming out of junior college, and I went to San Diego State. And I was there for a year, but I got injured. My neck and my back got injured during that fall camp. So I ended up taking a medical red shirt, and due to some circumstances between the training staff there and the coaching staff, I decided to transfer. So I transferred up to Portland State University and in Portland, Oregon, and continued my playing career. I played my last 2 years there. And the injuries lingered with me. And so much so that during my senior year there, I didn't even practice after fall camp outside of conditioning and whatnot. I would just watch film and do rehab and do some mental work. I was able to still make all conference both years, my last 2 years there. But once I stopped playing, I stopped being active as much. I took some time off to let my body heal, thinking that was going to be a good thing, and ended up making me more immobile because things just kept piling up. And the more inactive I got, the harder it got to get weight off. So I went a couple routes. I did a lot of surgeries to try to get active again, get my body moving, and as well as a bariatric surgery. I had a back surgery in 2010, along with had my right SI joint fused, and I also had a lap band implanted. And I was successful on the lap band, but it was still problematic for me because there was a physical restriction. And if those of you that don't know about a lap band, there's a device that goes around the top of the stomach, and they put saline in it to tighten the band, which restricts food intake. So you had that physical restriction, but there was this other component, food noise, that we didn't know about until, or at least I didn't know about until this year when I started my GLP-1 journey. So despite the physical restriction, I was still overeating. And I traced that back to growing up as a kid. I lived in a household. My dad wouldn't let us get up from the table unless we ate all our food.
Yeah.
And now I think back now and said, how could we just give me smaller portions? But that's a story that a lot of people in the community have resonated with. And as going up and going through sports, it helped me because it helped my caloric intake and put on muscle mass to play a very brutal sport in football. But after I stopped playing, it became a hindrance because I couldn't control it. And with me not being active and whatnot, it became a real problem. So subsequently to the lap band, I had that in for a few years, and I had that removed, or the saline in it was removed. I think it was 2013 or around the end of 2013, because I was having so many problems with overeating and throwing up and stretching the band out. And at that point, the plan was to move to a gastric sleeve, but when they took the band out, they couldn't do it because there was so much scarring around the stomach. So they wanted to heal first. So in the intervening time, I ended up having 2 hip surgeries, one on my left hip and one on my right hip, to
Wow.
repair the labrum on both sides, the cartilage, and do some bone shaving. What happens, I guess it happens in a lot of explosive sports like basketball, football, and track. You get these impingements where you grow bone spurs on the top of the femur where it goes into the joint of the hip. And that bone spur prevents the joint from moving freely. So it tears up the labrum and
Sounds
the
like it hurt
cartilage.
like hell too.
Yeah, it does. So I got those repaired in 2014, and then transitioned to a sleeve in 2015. So same success, or same story with the sleeve that I got. I had the physical restriction, but again, I didn't have control of the chemical imbalance of eating the foods, overeating, and having sugar cravings and whatnot. Although I did have success in the intervening time of having the band removed and going to sleeve, my weight jumped up to 358 pounds. And that was over 100 pounds of what I played at in college. And once I got the sleeve in, I was able to get down to about 274, and I was able to maintain that weight plus 10 pounds. So I was about 285 for a lot of years until COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, with the world shutting down, I worked from home for a year and a half. I canceled my gym membership, took some measures to protect myself and my wife. My wife has lupus, so I didn't want to bring COVID home to her.
No,
And
absolutely not.
with her compromised state. And being at home for a year and a half, not having a gym membership, I just went off the rails with the food cravings. I was a few steps away from my pantry and my refrigerator, and I was stress eating, and I couldn't control my sugar intake. So I eventually gained weight back up to 233 or 234 pounds post-COVID.
So this is your journey. I popped up. This is the chart you sent me. It's
Yes.
a lot of ups and downs, man.
Yeah, a lot. So post-COVID, I started looking into, I went on a cruise with my family, and I'm not a big picture guy, but there was a few pictures that popped up in, and I didn't like the way that I looked. I was asking myself, how did I lose control of everything after
Yeah.
2 bariatric surgeries and whatnot? And it's not something that you see when you look at yourself in the mirror every day, because it happens gradually over time. But when you have that perspective where you can look at the picture and say, man, what happened? So I
think
made
the
a commitment
second
once.
one, is that the
Yeah.
cruise?
Yes, that's the cruise on the left. And that's me actually last week.
That's fighting weight there, man. Looking good.
Yeah. Thank you. So after getting off the cruise, I made a commitment that I was going to do keto. So I did keto from February to June, and it worked well. I lost probably close to 35 pounds, and then I got stuck, and the frustration started to build back in, me not being able to lose weight or control my food cravings. So at the end of 2023, I made the step to look into Wegovy. And at that time, the doctor wouldn't prescribe it to me because they were on a 4 to 6 month back order. And shortly thereafter, Zepbound got approved. So I approached them in January about starting Zepbound and got my blood work in. My BMI at the time was 40, which is class 3 obesity. My A1C was 5.7, so it was pre-diabetic. My triglycerides were off the charts. I think the normal range is like 125 or 130 or lower, and that was at my HDL was low, my LDL was bad. So I was being diagnosed with metabolic syndrome. So I took my first shot on January 12th and have had great success on using the GLP-1 medication so far.
So it sounds like the food noise was a big thing for you. It was for me, I know.
Yeah, food noise was a huge thing for me. And now having this medication to subdue that food noise, I can eat how I should have been eating the whole time with the sleeve or with the band. So I restrict my calories to about 1,800 to 2,000 calories a day and try to get 140, 150 grams of protein in a day.
So how tall are you?
6'2".
So you're a football player. It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
What's your goal weight?
No, I haven't really settled on a goal weight. The number that's always in the back of my mind is 225. That will put me 90 pounds down on a journey. And I think I'm about 17 or 18 pounds away from that now. But I also have been thinking about 215. And I don't know if 215 is in my mind because that'll put me at 100 pounds down. But I just want to get
I
to
love the even
225.
number, man. I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly. But I want to get to 225 and see how I look and how I feel at that weight.
And
I, I, I
how are your
definitely,
joints and everything feeling now that
my
you're down on the weight?
My joints feel great. I don't have any cartilage on my kneecap, so I have been having knee problems, but those have been great since losing the weight. And I think it's also a side effect of the medication itself. My back, I don't have any disc space in my lower back from L5 down to L1. It's just bone on bone. So losing the weight and that pressure on that puts on the spine has certainly helped a lot. And actually, in February, I was diagnosed with frozen shoulder syndrome. I couldn't move this arm over here at all above 90 degrees. And shortly after starting the medication, they were able to get it moving. I was scheduled for surgery in order for them to go in and tear the scar tissue up. But it suddenly started moving a few weeks after I started taking the medication. So I think it was part of the medication.
I think it just works on inflammation all over your body, and it
Yes.
just, I
Yes.
mean, the more research that comes out, the more we learn what this medicine does, and I don't even think the doctors know, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. They're finding out new things every day.
I think it's all intriguing. Athlete, gained a lot of weight, lots of physical problems from the bumping and bruising from football. Certainly a very different story than you see a lot around
Yeah.
GLP-1s and weight loss. Talk to me about starting your YouTube channel and a little bit about it, because I know you're on TikTok as well, and people think it's only 16-year-old girls dancing on TikTok.
Yeah.
You're not doing that, I assume, or you could
Oh,
be.
no, 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 no. No one wants me to dance on TikTok. Before I actually started taking the medication, I did a lot of research on YouTube, and there just wasn't a lot of men being represented in the community from what I could see. I tried to find stuff on Instagram. There were bits and pieces here on YouTube where there were men talking about it, but most of the men that were talking about it were medical professionals,
Mhm.
and so that were giving out information, but there were no men that were users that were. At least I can't say that there were no men. There were a few men. There were very few men. So one day I was just thinking I could do this. I can share my journey to help others out because that's the information that I was looking for myself. So I made the comment to my wife that I was going to start making a YouTube channel to document my journey. She said, "Please don't do that. Please don't do that." But she's been real supportive of it. Probably about 6 to 8 weeks ago, I decided to create a TikTok account because I kept hearing that's where the community is.
Yeah.
And they're a lot more interactive over there from what I heard. So I jumped over there, I created an account to see what it was all about. And there's a great community of GLP-1 users there, support system knowledge. They do live shows on a daily basis, talking to people about their journey and what to expect as people are starting their journey. So I found that to be real informational and interactive. Even though I reluctantly joined TikTok, I'm glad I did, but I also joined at a moment where the TikTok community itself, as far as the GLP-1 community, was being censored or silenced by
Yeah.
TikTok itself because they changed their community guidelines and put GLP-1 medications under disordered eating, or at least talking about them under
Right.
disordered eating.
I know a lot of them have hopped over to YouTube now because of that.
Yes. Yeah, they've been dispersed a lot. There are a lot of them have joined YouTube. Some have jumped over to Instagram. So there's a big community on Instagram now. And Clapper, which is a TikTok clone, but
Mhm.
it's the Wild West over there on Clapper. So you really have to train your algorithm to get the things that you want to see.
If you guys haven't subscribed to Charles's channel, please go subscribe. Take a look at the content he's creating because it's his unique perspective, which I think is exciting. And you're doing a combination of some long form and some short form, which is cool.
Yeah.
But please go subscribe to Round Mound of Zepbound, and you'll
Yes.
get to see what Charles is doing all the time. Talk to me a little bit more about your medication and your dosing and where are you in that?
Yes, I am currently on my 4th week of 10 milligrams. I started initially, like I said, on January 12th, I started on the 2.5. I did that for a month, and then I moved up to 5 after that 4-week period. And I did 5 for a month and moved up to 7.5 and did 7.5 for 3 months. My goal was to get to 10 for a few reasons. Looking at the studies, there wasn't that much weight loss difference between what people were showing between 10 milligrams and 15 milligrams. I think it was like a percentage difference. And 10 is also a maintenance dose. So once I'm there, I can just kind of stay there. And it also gave me an opportunity to move up to 12.5 or 15 in the future should I need to, because I've heard so many stories about don't dose up, don't titrate up too fast,
Right.
because once you get to 15, there's nowhere to go. So I wanted to give myself some room to grow should I need. Now, as far as I'm in this journey, I don't think I'll need to go up any further, because like I mentioned, I'm only about 18 or so pounds away from 225 and 28 pounds or so from 215. So wherever I go, I think all the medications, all the doses have been successful for me. I have moved up. I did 7.5 at 3 months purposely to kind of slow that titration down. And 10, I got a 3-month supply of 10. So I'll be here for the next 2 months. And then my next dose when I re-up or refill will be at 10, hopefully, if I can find it.
Have you had challenges finding it?
Thankfully, I haven't it yet. I was prepared to move to compound in May with the shortages going on. I started my refill process, I think 3 weeks before I was going to be out of medication, just to give myself some time to get it in case there were troubles getting it. But after the doctor put the refill in on the 3rd, and I had it on the 6th. So that surprised me. But I looked into some compounding pharmacies or telehealth companies that work with compounding pharmacies. So I was fully prepared to do that should I need to.
Yeah, we've seen, because we've been helping a couple of people with it, and we've seen a couple of the 25 and the 75 both available in stock. Yeah. In fact, one of the drugstores said, yeah, we've got a couple of them in here. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a sample of one, so who knows whether the rest of the country's like that or not. But so you and I think I'm about, I don't know, 25 pounds away from goal, maybe. How fast have you been? What's your average weight loss been week to week, month to month?
I'm currently losing about 3.3 pounds a week. So that's an average. So there's some months or some weeks that have been higher than I think my first week on 2.5, I was at 9.3. Most weeks have been 3 to 4 pounds. I have 2 to 3 weeks where it was less than 2 pounds, but every week I have lost something. And I think that is a combination of my gastric sleeve restriction. And I have a lot of underlying muscle mass from my days of playing sports that help with my metabolism as well. So as long as the medication is managing or taking care of any metabolic disorders that I have, my body's able to metabolize it a lot better.
And are you working out or doing physical therapy or anything right now?
I'm working out 5 to 6 times a week. I go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. And when I'm there, I'll do treadmill for a 45-minute to an hour period. To set it at 3.6 and walk for that 45-minute to an hour period. And then once I'm done there, I'll go down to lift some weights. So that'll be about a 45-minute session itself. On the days that I am not lifting.
So let me pause for a second. That's a pretty good workout for somebody with a bum knee and a fused back.
Yeah. So now
and overweight. So,
yeah. So that's just a testament to the weight loss itself and what the medication does with the joints. I'm able to move a whole lot better now. I don't even. I still have aches and pains here and there, but it's completely night and day for me. Yeah. I just don't do any jogging because of one surgery I did mention in 2020, I had my right hip fully replaced. So I don't do any running because of the pounding that it will put. And then I'll have to have my left hip replaced in a year or two. Hopefully not sooner than that. But so far it's doing well.
I'm 55 years old, and we're now at a place where all of our friends have almost stopped running because their bodies just can't take it, right? That pounding on the pavement's pretty rough. Talk to me about what you eat. Do you have protein goals? How are you focusing that?
Yeah, I do have protein goals. I try to get 140 to 150 grams in per day.
That's a lot of protein, man.
Yeah, a lot. I do that for a general sake. I generally, for breakfast, I'll have some boiled eggs or some scrambled eggs. If I'm boiling them, I'll just eat the eggs and a protein shake. So I'll have a Fairlife 30-gram protein shake. And then I'll have like a late morning snack, some beef jerky or some edamame beans or some peanuts or something of that nature, something that's protein forward. For lunch, for a while, I was using the food company Factor. They have a keto plan meal, so I was using those for lunches till the discount ran out. But now what I'm doing is I'll go to Chipotle and get one of their lifestyle bowls, the whole grain or the keto bowl, or go to somewhere like Jersey Mike's and get their sub in a tub. So I just won't get the bread. So what I'm focusing on is protein intake and low carbs. I'm not trying to do keto, but just doing low carbs. And dinner is generally something chicken related with some complex carbs and some vegetables. And that's generally it for the day. I'll do some yogurt and make sure I'm getting my water in. I'll get in 80 to 120 grams of water, or not grams, but ounces of water each day with one. I have my first tumbler of the day is 40 ounces. I'll do that with one electrolyte package. So I'll make sure I'm getting my electrolytes in every day.
So you use some nice salty element or one of those things. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Lorraine started doing all that. I haven't jumped over to that one yet, but we'll see. We'll see.
I really love the watermelon salt and the citrus salt ones. Those are the two that I rotate between.
So talk to me about side effects. How has it been for you?
So thankfully, I haven't had any side effects outside of constipation. There was a period, a week or two, where I did have some insomnia, but the one constant that I've had since I started is constipation. And I just manage that I take Marilax daily and a pill or two of Mag07 at night, just to stay regular. And that has helped me. But outside of constipation and that 1 or 2 weeks of insomnia, I haven't had any other side effect other than weight loss itself.
And that's basically how I've been too. Our side effects have honestly been pretty minimal. It's not nothing. I tell people, they're like, what about paresis? And I'm like, you know what? A little bit of constipation, it can be managed. It's not a big deal. When you take your shots, have you moved locations around? Have you found there's a lot of conversation around shot location on the internet right now? What do you think?
I do, so to speak. I've done 1 week in my left arm and 1 week in my left thigh. Every other shot has been around my belly button. I just do like a clock each hour. So if I do 12 o'clock on this week, I'll do 1 o'clock next week. And I just rotate around my belly button. I guess there are some studies, or there was a study that shows, at least from Eli Lilly, that people have the most weight loss through the abdomen, even though they do recommend rotating sites, but they also have the most side effects when using the abdomen as well.
And that's pretty much where we've done the abdomen as well. I tried the arm once and didn't like it, mostly because I don't know, I just didn't like doing the shot on my arm.
Yeah, it seemed like when I did my arm and my thigh, it took a lot longer for the medication to take effect compared to doing my abdomen.
So Lorraine's question is always, have you gotten rid of your older clothes yet? Where are you on that thought process?
Not yet. I did give some jeans away to Goodwill, I think after the first month, but there are a lot of clothes in my closet that I have folded up and put on the floor that are ready to go in bags. I want to give them away, but there's also this part of me of what happens if I gain the weight back. And I think I want to give them away because then it gets rid of the crutch.
I'm in the same place, man. I have a big stack on the end of my closet that taller than I am, a huge stack of clothes. Yeah. Some of the stuff I probably hadn't worn in 10 years anyway, but it's just, you want to do it, you don't know to do it. Yeah. I don't know. And we actually went to Goodwill and I bought some jeans for $5 a pair. Actually, I got some expensive jeans out of the Goodwill from next to a very nice neighborhood in town. So that was pretty good. I don't know.
I think my wife will get on me here sooner or later to do something with.
Oh, I assure you, Lorraine will do the same thing as well. So as we're having this conversation, if there's men out there watching, hopefully there are, right? what would you tell them? Because there's not a lot of you and I out there talking about this. So
Yeah.
what advice would you give them? What would you tell them about all this?
I would say take the plunge. First, educate yourself about the medication, the side effects, and what to expect while taking the medication. But and there's probably a lot of men out there that are just lurkers that are using the medication and not being a voice to the community saying that they are. But
Mhm.
I would say educate yourself as much as possible and then decides what is best for you. I think these medications, at least for me, have been extremely helpful. If I had them 10 years or so ago, I wouldn't have done the lap band surgery or the gastric sleeve surgery. There's so many benefits from this medication besides just the weight loss. There's the inflammation of the body that you're getting rid of, inflammation of the joint, sleep apnea. At one point, I have a CPAP machine. At one point during my overall journey, my pressure was up at 14.
Wow.
And now it's at the lowest setting. So hopefully I'll get rid of the machine altogether. There was a recent study that shows that I think there's a 66% reduction
Yeah.
in sleep apnea events
And that'll
for
lengthen your
use
life
of,
right there, man.
yeah, exactly. Cardiovascular health, like I mentioned, my triglycerides were off the charts and now they're like 119. So they're at a normal range. My good cholesterol has gone up. My total cholesterol is a good number. My blood pressure, when I started, was 143 over 93, and now it's 105 over 65. So there are so many benefits besides just the weight loss that this medication provides. So I would just encourage any man that's out there that's on the fence to educate yourself and jump into the fray.
The common thing I hear, and I get messages all the time, I've got the medicine in the refrigerator and I don't want my kids to see me doing it because I want them to know I'm tough and I can like do it myself and
Yeah.
work through it. You're an ex-football player, dude. What do you think of that?
Yeah, and I understand that mindset because as an ex-football player, someone who's been selected to all-star teams, all conference teams, the best of the best, you have this mentality of you can do anything that you put your mind to. And this is one thing that I could not overcome, no matter how much I tried, because of the food noise that was going on in my head.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're not a man. It doesn't mean that you're not big and strong. It just means that there's a hormonal imbalance that needs to be regulated. And once that's done, if you want to be big tough guy, and you can still go to the gym and lift all the weights you want, but take care of that hormonal imbalance first. There's no shame in using the medication. When I first started it, I was in the mindset that I didn't want anyone knowing that I was on the medication, and now I'm, publicly stating on YouTube and TikTok that I'm using it, and the success that I'm having on this journey. So there is no shame.
Well, I
I
mean,
would
we
say
now
just
know
go
it's a
for it.
disease, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's a, I told my kids, like, part of being a grown up and making hard decisions is taking care of yourself and understanding your medical needs and not being
Yes.
afraid to move forward. Not to
Yeah.
say that it's easy,
Yeah.
but it can be a challenge for sure. Oh, I appreciate you coming on and having the conversation. If you ever want to come back, man, love to have you back and see where you are in your journey. Again, make sure go sign up for and subscribe for Round Mound of Zepbound. I know he's working his way up in subscribers every day, so we appreciate that. To close out, is there anything I've missed? Is there anything else you want to say? Or
No, I just want to thank you and Lorraine for having me on. I follow your channel and you guys provide some great content. And I just love, like I mentioned earlier, I just love that there's a husband-wife duo that's in the community sharing stories and highlighting others and sharing news about the GLP-1 community to educate everyone. So I
we
appreciate all that you
appreciate
all
you
are doing.
watching, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you for joining us again. Go subscribe to Round Mound of Zepbound. He's doing some great work. Thank you for joining us. My name is Christopher Durham. If you haven't already subscribed to and liked our channel, please do. I'm Christopher Durham for the Downsized.
Thank you.